Hi, this is Gurasi Singh, and you're listening to my Thick Accent podcast. So, since the inception of my Thick Accent, my overarching goal has been to provide a supportive and understanding space for immigrants, navigating the intricate journey of establishing themselves in a new country. It's a journey I intimately understand, having experienced it firsthand. If I could be a guiding light for even one person in their immigrant journey, that to me would signify a significant victory. Over the course of this podcast, we have had the privilege of hosting a diverse array of guests, each contributing a unique and inspiring chapter to the grand narrative that the immigrant experience is. These are stories of resilience, triumph over adversity, and individuals making indelible marks in their respective fields. From those who have overcome tremendous hardships to those achieving remarkable success, these conversations aim to connect, resonate, and most importantly, empower. And today, I'm thrilled to welcome a cherished listener, someone whose journey intertwines seamlessly with the very essence of my thick accent. Her experiences, deeply influenced by the insights shared by a diverse range of guests, mirror the transformative power embedded in community and shared narratives. In joining us today, she not only brings her unique perspective, but also illuminates how this podcast has been a catalyst for meaningful connections, unforeseen opportunities, and perhaps, most importantly, a profound sense of belonging throughout her immigrant and international student journey. Take, for instance, the story of a guest who shared invaluable advice about navigating the failures he witnessed in his life. Our listener, inspired by this episode, found herself better equipped to navigate her own professional landscape, leading to increased confidence and success in her own journey. Another instance unfolded when a discussion on being a woman in an Indian household resonated deeply with her own struggles. This connection she shared made her feel seen and understood in a way that few other platforms had. These are just a couple of examples that underscore the impact of My Thick Accent, not merely as a podcast, but as a community fostering shared experiences. It's a testament to the profound influence and ripple effects of these conversations that extend beyond the airwaves and into the lives of our listeners. As we delved into our today's conversation, let's explore not just the power of narratives, but also the incredible journey of our devoted listener, a journey enriched by the collective wisdom, diverse stories, and unwavering support cultivated within the My Thick Accent community. Please welcome Urja Khosla.
Hi, Gurusis. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction.
Absolutely, Urja. Very, very excited to have you on the podcast. And I think you were definitely like one of the initial listeners of mine who reached out to me. And so thank you for reaching out and thank you for doing this and welcome once again.
Thank you so much. I don't know how should I thank you for this episode, and yeah, I just feel so honored that I am like a guest today on my thick accent. It really
Mhm.
fills my heart with a lot of gratitude. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So let's give a little bit of background to our listeners that how I connected with you and what all that you have been doing. But before that, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you were doing before you moved to Canada.
To begin with, so my name is Urja, and I am from Punjab, which nobody, it is very hard for people to believe. And before moving to Canada, so I did my bachelor's in arts and then I moved to master's. So I am a master's in English literature. Post that, I worked like multiple jobs in India
Mhm.
in my home city, Ludhiana. So yeah, so like I worked like few jobs and then I started planning for Canada. And now here I am as an international student.
Okay. And I believe you are currently studying at Humber College, right? You are doing this professional communication literature program, but what is it all about? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a 1 year program, and I am studying in Humber College, the Lakeshore campus, and it's a postgraduate diploma in professional writing and communications.
Okay. And you also mentioned that people think that you are not a Punjabi. What did you mean by that?
It's just I don't know. Since the time I've landed here, it's like this is something that a mostly asked question, and because I guess I don't speak Punjabi a lot, and I'm
Hmm.
mostly communicating in either in English or Hindi, so it's hard for people to believe. But guys, people from Punjab also speak Hindi, so please stop giving me that. Yeah.
But no, I can also resonate to this response that you get from people, sort of like a reaction that you get from people that you're not from Punjab. But I feel like people used to tell me that maybe I'm from Delhi because just because of the course I'm doing, or just because the way I'm talking, or just because of the things I'm pursuing in general. And that takes me to the point where this question regarding doing this particular program that you are doing. And I remember somebody asking you in a certain interview that I saw of yours that they said that people from Punjab usually don't do these kind of programs, right? And that kind of hit me. And I was like, why are we again stereotyping Punjabis or people from Northern India that they will do a certain type of courses when they come to Canada? But you tell me, why did you choose this course? And I'll tell you briefly that I chose this because this is something which I wanted to do. This is something that resonated with me. The contents of the program resonated with me. Montreal resonated with me. The college I studied in, La Salle, resonated with me. And I was like, this is something that I can do. And this is something which can help me, pursue a career in Montreal somewhere. So yeah, tell me about you.
Yeah, so thank you for letting me know that, because I guess I can totally resonate to what you said. And that's the most important part. Like, it doesn't matter which part of country you're coming from, like which
Yeah.
city, which state. Whatever you want to study, it has to be in somewhere, like it should be connecting to you. And like you said, I know you've studied something that's related to advertising, and that's something that you
Yeah.
were always interested in. And for me, uh, because as I mentioned, I have my master's in English literature, and somewhere I was
Yeah.
always reading literature, doing writing, communications. And so I felt, why not, I pursue something that I have passion in, and I enjoy writing, I enjoy reading, and I enjoy talking. I am like a
Hmm.
big time talker. You can just get me started, and I can have conversations. Yeah. So I'm like, let's just dive into something that's of more interest. And I just read the outlines and the courses. It was like, if you enjoy listening to podcasts, I'm not making it, I'm telling you, it was part of the hour, the structure. If you
Yeah.
enjoy watching interviews, if you enjoy writing, so this course is for you. To be honest, I guess it somewhere comes with that freedom that my parents have always given me, and I feel so
Yeah.
lucky, because I was never told that you have to do this specific thing. They always, like, my father has always been this like hard believer of this one thing. He's like, whatever you're studying, you should enjoy it first, and then just try to make the most out of it. And I try to do that. Like, whatever I do, it's not specifically I because I'm enrolled in this program for that sake. It's
Hmm.
like whatever I'm doing, even if I'm listening to your podcast, for example, maybe I
Yeah.
feel like it's also kind of way I educate myself. Even if I'm watching a YouTube video, even if I'm reading an article, if I feel like this is something that is helping me gain something, I'll make a note of
Yeah.
it. And for me, it's like education. It doesn't matter. It's not like I have to go to an institute to study. I can
Hmm.
study wherever I want to study. So for me, it has always been like that. And I study and I learn from people around me, from these sources. So yeah, that's how I just chose this program, and it has been an amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said you can learn at anywhere. You don't have to go like to a certain institute to really study, and that's amazing. And I think again, you also mentioned about your family, and I think family does play a major role in how you are obviously like brought up, and obviously the things that you pursue in your life. So definitely, and is tell me something that for you, did you like do any sort of like a preparation before landing, before coming to Canada? What did you do before that? Obviously, you listen to the podcast. I know we'll get into that, but tell me, what else did you do apart from that?
Oh yeah. So years and years of, I'll say, research.
Mm-hmm.
So when I said years and years of preparation, so while I was doing my masters, I started, researching, and I started consuming a lot of content that was related to Canada, which I resonated with,
Okay.
which I felt like, okay, this is something, that, these are the creators that are making sense to me, because I have always been a very, very, very practical person. I don't want to see the rosy things. I just don't want to see all the rosy things. And I know life is not all rosy. So I really connect with people who, who are talking sense, like who are talking both positives and negatives. That's how the life is. And that's how,
Yeah.
one should, you know, they should be open to this. Like, so I started consuming content, like I started understanding, how important a program is, how important getting into a good college or a university
Yeah.
is, what is a 1 year program, how in Canada, like there are programs that they have co-op components in it, like, here and there, getting a lot of information from the people who, have themselves, gone through these, like gone through this experience. So that's how I started learning. And then luckily, I'm so grateful, I was following these amazing creators, and one of the creators, you call them on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, I'm like, okay, this is, so unique. Like I've never knew, something like this. Somebody in Canada is creating a podcast where they're calling
Mm-hmm.
all these immigrants, and, people like you were calling people from all over the world,
Yeah.
and they are actually sharing their stories of struggles, and, how their journeys has been so inspiring. And yeah, so I know, like somewhere I started feeling that, yeah, this is a kind of experience that I want for myself. And yeah, that's how the journey began.
But let's talk like a timeline. I am all about going chronologically. So tell me, when did you apply for your this program at Humber? When did you get the visa? And then tell me, when did you start listening to the podcast? And also tell us, like, what was that? Who was that person whom you listened to for the first time, and that's how you found the podcast?
Yeah, so okay, you are super specific with the dates and the timelines. I am super bad with it.
Like a rough idea. Give us like a rough idea. Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I remember I completed my, as far as I remember, I hope I'm saying it right. So postgrad got completed in 2021
Mm-hmm.
by May, June. Yeah, I was done with my exam. And by December, I have applied in Humber, I remember. And there was one fan show college again. So again, a
Mm-hmm.
communication program. So it took easily 2-3 months for me to receive an offer letter, and I had good grades and everything, and the course was matching to, my previous education. So they gave me the offer letter, but then because of COVID, the processing time was taking quite a lot of time.
Of course. Yeah.
So I remember, like I was waiting, 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 and it took me, like I came to Canada in December 22, and
Okay.
but I was supposed
But
to.
exactly an year later.
Yeah, so but yeah,
Oh
it
wow.
takes time. Yeah, so anybody who's who's planning, it takes time, guys. So you have to be very patient. I received my offer letter for September, but my visa was delayed. Luckily, I got my offer letter for Jan again from Humber, because they understood that my visa is not coming, and then we came in December 22.
And during your preparation process, when was the time you got exposed to my thick accent, and which was that first episode you heard?
Oh, I remember this very vividly. Why I'll say vividly is because I remember I came from work one day, and I'll reveal the creator. I don't know if she knows it. So Bani Singh.
Yeah.
I've been following I was following her from quite a lot of time, because she makes this amazing, content, both Instagram, and that time I remember I was consuming a lot of her YouTube videos,
Mhm.
because she was really, making these informational videos around co-op, housing, job opportunities, good stuff. Like, and also, guys, this one is also from Punjab.
She's actually from my city.
She's
She's from
from your
Amritsar
city.
as
She's
well.
from
Yeah. Yeah.
Amritsar. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this one again. Even I had a little bit of that thinking that, only people from, metropolitan cities, they are the one, who are with this amazing kind of talent. No, guys, people everywhere are super talented.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
So Bani was making amazing content, and you called her on the podcast. I don't exactly remember which
Yeah.
episode number.
Oh, I remember. It was my fourth
Okay,
episode with
perfect.
her. And she was also one of my first guests,
Oh.
I would say, whom I ever met in my life. Like, it
Mm.
was like that. because she happened to visit Montreal like the summer of that year we recorded it. So she was also the first person I met in person out
Wow.
of
So
all
look,
my
that's
guests.
beautiful,
So yeah,
right? So I remember she posted, and when she posted, I'm like, let me just listen to this podcast. And I remember, actually, I'm telling you, I don't know, I'm not lying, guys. I literally, I was consuming the podcast, and side by side, while you were asking her amazing questions and she was giving amazingly
yeah,
brilliant answers, I was literally,
yeah.
making voice notes of all the details she was giving while the podcast.
Oh wow.
And I don't know, I've lost my phone, but I remember I literally making, Bani and write and recording all of that, because she shared, like, I'll tell you,
Hmm.
like, briefly, like, she was talking, how she struggled with finding a room for herself. That episode is super super, like,
Yeah.
it's clear in my memory. So she's talking
Hmm.
how she worked. She's actually suggesting, guys, don't work at Tim because it's gonna be so hard.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so she narrating her, her experience at York University, how she came, her master's experience, and how she was able to land a job, how she, strategically started looking for jobs before she graduated. I'm like, this one
yeah.
is literally making sense. That's how it should be. And yeah, I'm like, in one episode, I've learned so much. I'm not going back. This podcast is just made for me, and I was hooked. And then, like, episodes after
Yeah.
episodes, I started, consuming whatever you posted, and and eventually I became like this avid listener. I literally, I'm like, okay, when is the another episode coming? When is the other episode coming? I have to consume. Who is coming next? I used to literally wait. And the best part is, to be honest, you were not calling specific people from a specific age group. It's like people from various age groups,
Yeah.
which makes me feel like, okay, you know, it's so much diversity. So it's not just Pani Singh, it's not just
Yeah.
somebody, from Punjab.
Who's a
We have
YouTuber, for
Who's a
example.
YouTuber. We
Yeah.
have people
Yeah.
from Colombia. We have amazing people from different parts of the world. So that's what actually
Yeah.
fascinated me the most about your podcast, and also like amazing content coming from you. So yeah.
I'm actually quite touched to just hear that it resonated with you a lot. But I want to know more about it. Like, how did you feel about the flow of the podcast, or what is something that made you come back each time, each Thursday? What was that thing, or what was your initial impressions about me as a host? Tell me about that as well.
Yeah, so first of all, I'll start with, the impression of like how I felt like coming back again and again to the podcast, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have never, like, I don't think so. Like, obviously, as I mentioned, I was consuming a lot of content creators, Instagram, Reels, YouTube, everything. But I don't think so. Everybody's doing a podcast, especially from our own country. And I guess, like,
Hmm.
it's not just Punjab, it's like, I don't think so from anybody from India is doing this.
Hmm.
So that's first thing made me feel like, oh, this is something different. And for me, it's always like I get attracted to something that's unique. And my thick
Hmm.
accent is very unique in that way. What I love the most is that you are, I guess I've told you this so many times, you are not just interested to know the achievements.
Yeah.
You want to know the nitty gritty details and what exactly, the guest or the immigrant went through
Yeah.
back in all those years to reach where they've reached. And that's why I connect. That's where, I connect. I just
Hmm.
don't want to know, for example, okay, Karina Kapoor is doing this now, but what was she doing as when she entered? Just giving too much information, but she was just joining her sister, and watching her dancing, watching her going through
Yeah.
those long shoots. That's how I get inspired. And when I see my thick accent, it all the episodes are like that. I am getting to know the
Hmm.
person, how that person was in childhood, what shaped them to this person, and what made them feel like, okay, Canada is for them. And then they starting from scratch, no matter who they are, from where they're coming, what kind of profession.
Yeah.
And some people are coming with their kids, some people are coming all alone, some people they have gone through different experiences, and it's too much of human touch.
Yeah.
So I just love that.
I think that's the one example I have given to explain what I want to do with my each episode is everybody talks about their first car, their first house, their first job, or whatever the PR, for example,
Yeah.
people share with everybody. But nobody talks about how did you end up being able to afford this car or this house. I wanted to know that. And that is something I always wanted to unfold on this podcast. So I'm so glad that you said this, Urja, because that's exactly what my mission was, to know the in depth, the behind the scenes of things, and not just what is just in front of people. But my just coming back to my original, going back to my original question, which was, tell me about the initial impressions that you had about me as a
Yeah.
host.
So, like, before actually connecting with you in Canada, for me, it was like, I felt like, to be honest, I felt like this one is very serious and he's very, yeah, like very serious. And I felt like, I really felt like with podcasting, you must be a professor or something. To be honest, yeah. I'm like,
Okay.
you are so seriously having these serious conversations because it's very hard. If anybody, or everybody who's obviously who's gonna tune into my thick accent for sure, they're gonna get this vibe, if they don't know you personally, they're gonna get this vibe that this person is very serious, like, because you don't show your fun side with your podcast, which you should start doing,
Yeah.
telling you now as a friend. But yeah, I'm like this one. And plus, the most important thing, you really, really respect people's journey. I guess that's the kind of comfort you give to your guest.
Hmm.
Like me sitting and, talking to you, I don't think so. I'm in any way feeling like, oh, I don't want to, talk about this. I don't want to talk about this
Mhm.
because I feel like if I can seek inspiration from people, why not, maybe somebody's going to seek inspiration from my story and my journey and they're going to do
Yeah.
better. So you give that
Yeah.
comfort. That's what fascinated me the most. And there were the questions, like the introduction, like
Hmm.
this introduction, it just made my day. And you you crafting these beautiful introductions, which not tells us about again the achievements, but the roller coaster ride that and every that different immigrants and different guests of yours have gone through, and then still they're sailing through so happily. So that's what connects me.
Hmm.
And the music, of course, I just love the music. I just I
Me
I
too.
just love it. That's the beautiful part. I just love that. And like, I know you made a lot of efforts and you were the one, who's
Yeah.
curated everything, music and yeah, beautiful. And you have a beautiful voice. I have to give it to you. Beautiful voice. Yeah. It's made for
Oh,
podcast.
thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And, regarding the sowing the seed
Yeah.
side, the funny thing is, when I started the podcast, back in 2020 September, I launched it, and my friends heard me. They sort of said me the same thing, that why are you being so
I
serious on the
know.
show? You are not that
True.
person. Where is the fun goodies? Why is not coming out? We do that, with friends, all that, those PJs and funs and those jokes and everything. So they like, where is that? But then I told them the same thing, that it is supposed to be serious because we're having a serious conversations. But I think also initially I was nervous, obviously, just like starting anything new. I was nervous. I was trying to find my own voice in this past 1 year. I was still trying to see what kind of flow I need to go to, or making sure, also because sometimes, for example, you have this tendency to think that somebody who is already out there. Let's just take example of Bani, since we know her. So Bani, I was also a little hesitant to be that frank and open, just because I thought, oh my God, like, she's a YouTuber,
Yeah.
she has a certain following and she has a certain demeanor. I have to be very professional. So maybe I had that thing in my mind that, okay, everything has to be very nice and
Yeah.
sophisticated and smooth, which is fair enough. I mean, that's the best I could do at that moment. And I think, obviously, like with my season two of the podcast, obviously I'm trying to turn up the fun factor a little
Perfect.
bit, and people should stay tuned for that for sure. But yeah, I think now I would like to get into the part where we connected for the first time, and let me give a little background from my side, which I never shared with you also, which is, so I came back from India in January 2023, end of 2023 January. I came back from India, and that month and a half that I spent in India, I went in middle of December. That month and a half was such a fun time. I was attending weddings, I was attending parties, I was attending the Lodi functions. I had like other wedding functions. You know how weddings are in India, they are like multiple days, and a lot of like fun I was having. And when I came back, in the beginning of February, I'm getting up, I'm doing my work, I'm getting up, I'm working from home, I'm working after 9 to 5, I'm just going down to my bed. The bathroom is just next to me. I'm hardly going to the kitchen. I even like didn't unpack for like 3 weeks
Oh
because I was
God.
so occupied with my work, and I felt like it took me a bit of time to come out of that whole trip to India. And at that time, obviously, when I went to India, I had my episodes banked. I had a couple of episodes, and so I can put them every Thursday. But when I came back, I didn't have enough episodes, and then I just had like one more which I posted, and another one was just like right there. Like the Thursday was coming, and just had the weekend to record. So this somebody reached out to me. I recorded that episode, and I remember it was my 20th episode. I recorded that, and when I recorded that, somehow I could not put that episode out. I think I will do another episode about that also, that why I did not put that episode. It's the only episode which I never put out. I could not put that episode out, and I end up skipping that Thursday. And that made me really, really sad because that was the first time ever in 6, 7 months I was skipping posting an episode. And that made me really sad. And I was also sort of like questioning, anyways, like, where have I come back? What am I doing? And everything. And at that moment, I remember sometime in the late afternoon, a message popped up on my LinkedIn, and that was a message from you, which said that, "Hi, Gurasiz, I think I visited your profile like 5 times, and I think your podcast has changed the way I see Canada." And I was like, whoa, this is huge. Like, this is exactly which I envisioned to do with my thick accent. And I would love to know that why she's saying that, and what has connected with her, what has resonated with her, and what I can continue to do that will let more and more people reach out to me and say that. And you were the first person ever who reached out to me, and getting that statement that your podcast has changed the way I see Canada really hit me. And I think that really motivated me a lot. I think after that downfall of not posting an episode, skipping a week, not being able to, really put anything on Thursday, and that really made me sad. And then coming with this message was really like you actually made my day. Clearly, I would say that you made my day by just sending me that message. But tell me, before you tell me like what happened after that and how we connected, I want you to unfold that part. But tell me, why did you visit my profile 5 times? Why you waited 5 times?
Like you felt like, with Bani, you have to be super professional. I guess I was in the same dilemma. I'm like, he's a content. For me, it was like, he's an amazing podcaster. He's talking to these amazing immigrants. He's in Canada. And I went to your
Mhm.
profile, and this one is doing crazy stuff in advertising. And I'm like, why will he reply to me? Like, yeah, like, but to be honest, Gurusis, for me, like, I've always learned this one thing, that in life, it doesn't matter. You just have to give your best. Rest,
Yeah,
you can't decide everything. Like, what I can do is I am a doer. I do my part, and then I leave it to universe, to be honest. And I feel like if it's meant for
absolutely.
me, it's gonna happen. If it's not meant for me, it's okay. Life is not gonna like stop there. So I'll give you a
Mhm.
small like why I felt like, today is the time that I should connect. It was nothing like networking, but I remember like again coming back to my program, I have to give this to my program. A big part, of me connecting with you in that way. Obviously, I was enjoying the podcast. I was loving it. Each and every word that I wrote, it came straight from my heart. But I remember like we were given this one assignment, beautiful program and beautiful assignments, amazing kind of, the period, the time that I've spent. I'm gonna cherish this forever. So one of my assignments was that I have to interview a creator who really inspires me, and I can interview anybody from whichever part of the world they
Mhm.
are. And I'm like, I don't know, but at the moment, because obviously I'm in Canada and I'm relating more to your episode. Every episode, I am going back to the episodes, listening to some pet episodes two
Mhm.
times, 3 times, going back and listening to, okay, what was the answer to this question, of your guest, going to this extent. And I felt like I have to interview him. I can't, miss this chance. only if he allows and if he, replies back. And I remember, I guess I wrote that message in the college itself. Yeah, I did it. So when my professor mentioned that you have to interview and make sure, you write, you can connect with them on LinkedIn, on Gmail, like whatever, floats your boat, however you want to connect. And I'm like, but I don't think so. By that time, I have ever gone on LinkedIn and searched. It was just, listening to my thick accent, just, going on Google and listening
Yeah.
to the podcast. So I'm like, let me see if he's there. We have that perception. Like, I guess everybody has that perception. Like, we start thinking of creators like, different personalities altogether. But to be honest, guys,
Yeah.
everybody is at the end of the day an individual. Even if it's Amitabh Bachchan,
Yeah.
he also does the same regular stuff
Yeah.
which everybody does.
Yeah.
So I went on LinkedIn and I'm like, okay, it's popping Guru C's thing and it's popping my thick accent, it's popping everything. Still, it took me a while. I'm seeing your profile. I'm like, okay, should I write? Should I write? Will he reply back? So I wrote that message to you and you replied. For me, that was like my day made. And you replied, and I remember like somewhere we were not able to, timings were not matching because I had to go for my morning shift. And you very politely, and very, you were so humble, and you even changed the timings to, what was suiting to my schedule, because I had to go to part time. And I'm like, what? Am I gonna, connect with the podcaster of my thick accent? We're gonna sit and have a chat? And yeah, the rest is history.
Well, I think, like I told you, I was very overwhelmed when you reached out to me. I was very happy about that. And I know about all these assignments that one is given to, because my program had the similar thing. And unfortunately, I could not connect with anybody. And I know how important those assignments are sometimes when you are like studying in a new world. And I knew that people have done, a lot of people, a lot of people have reached out to me and they have lent a helping hand to me. And that's what I'm trying to do through this podcast. And if podcast had led you to reach out to me, I could not stop myself to reply you back. I had to, because why not? And if any way I could contribute in your journey, and why not? I would love to do that. And if any of our listeners today is hesitant to reach out to me or drop a message to me or drop a comment or a suggestion, anything you have, please reach out. Don't hesitate. I will reply you back. I can assure you that for sure I will reply you back.
I can let you go to another question before, adding this. This is actually for the first time, guys, that I am listening to what you were going through as a creator yourself, before I pop that message to you.
Mhm.
So, here I would really like to say one thing that even I've learned today. Guys, do appreciate. If you feel somebody is doing good, it's our duty to appreciate. It doesn't matter at which,
Yeah.
position that creator is. If you connect, just let them know, because you don't know what the other person is going through, and maybe your one message could be an amazing, could give, an amazing amount of motivation. I would have never, I can't even imagine, that one message of mine could, motivate you to this extent. And I'm not saying it I'm not
Yeah.
going to take any credit for that, because it's your skills. Like, everything is you, you doing your hard work. But sometimes you need that push, and I'm glad I could
Yeah.
do that. And I'm grateful to my program person, who gave me that assignment. And I couldn't think of anybody else other than you. I could have wrote it to, I don't think so,
Mm.
I wrote to 10 creators and you were one of them. No, it was just you.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like, I remember, even in the class, before even we connected, I wrote that message, me telling other immigrant students
Mm.
I was literally marketing for my thick accent without even knowing you. And I remember there's a
Yeah.
lady still, like, she was with me in this program, Jennifer, if you're listening this. So a 50 years old doing this program with me, my classmate, and she actually asking me, can you please tell me the name of the podcast that you're talking about?
Oh my God.
And I would really want to tune in, because the way you were telling about the podcast, I want to listen to this podcast. And yeah, Jennifer, you know
Hmm.
it, right? Now you know it.
Wow, but thank you for doing that, and thank you for saying
Yeah.
that, and mentioning that and highlighting that on the podcast. And I do need more and more Urja kind of followers. I do need
It's
those
hard.
these
It's hard. I'm sorry, but it's hard.
marketers. Okay, so now I want to pivot towards how this podcast has definitely helped you grow personally, but how it has also helped you to land certain opportunities and connect with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, tell us like about this part-time job that you are doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a day obviously where you listened to a certain podcast and that's how you connected with somebody, you got to know about a networking event, and you took an off from your part-time job, and then you went to that event, and that led to a lot of other opportunities, a lot of other things which you're doing right now as well. So tell us very, very briefly about that.
Yes, so I remember you called Urvish Patel.
Hmm.
He's somebody, who's running a career coaching company here in Canada. What
Hmm.
actually, made me connect with his story was how this individual fought for himself, not after coming or landing here in Canada,
Yeah.
or he could even come here to Canada. During his bachelor's, he had a lot of his courses, like he couldn't clear it, and he was finding it hard to, get into the college, get into Canadian education system. The way he took everything on himself, that he's not gonna rely on any agent or anybody else, he's gonna do it everything. And from back in India, he connected here, like with the program coordinator of George Brown, one of the most reputed colleges, and telling him that okay, maybe I've not like academically proven myself to to that par, but I know
Yeah.
that I deserve to study this program here in Canada, and I actually have a lot of interest in what I want to study. He in a way made me realize that everything is possible if you really want to do it. You're gonna make your way.
Yeah.
And then listening to that, this person who came as an international student, after like one who was not even sure even if he'll be able to study here in Canada, and now being a professor here in one of the Canadian colleges. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I've been a teacher in India, home tutoring and taking my own tuition classes. So I've been always around surrounded by students. And I'm like, if he can be a teacher, one day I'm going to be a professor here in one of the Canadian colleges or maybe university. And I'm going to make it possible for myself.
Of course.
And then he
Yeah.
telling that what he's doing with his career coaching company called Orbit 5, talking about the events they are doing for international students, how they're guiding them with their resumes, their interviews, networking. And I'm like, this is a place that I really want to be. Like right after
Hmm.
listening to your episode, because I was so inspired, I wrote like on his Instagram, because you, I guess, where you put his Instagram link, and I wrote to Urvish mentioning that if your story, I listened to the podcast and I really resonated with it, and I loved your story, and if you can be a teacher, I can be a teacher too as well.
Yeah.
And Urvish again replied, he's like, I remember he telling me like how he had such a bad fever. I don't know even if I mentioned this to you. He's telling me that he had such a
Yeah.
bad fever, but still he did it. And he
I
said,
remember.
I'm thankful to you. You listened to my podcast and this episode. And he said, there's a networking event happening and it's in Toronto and you should come. And I am in this dilemma that this event, I really want to go. I really want to be there. I would really want to learn, but it's on Saturday. And I work like in a restaurant as a server. And if anybody who works in restaurant, guys, you can get anything, but you can't get an off on a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
of
they'll give
course.
you anything you want, but getting an off on weekend is like, what are you even asking?
Yeah.
But I have to give this one to my manager. He was so sweet. I very politely I requested him that I really want to. I have something very important for this Saturday, and I need an off. And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna manage, and you can take a day off." And I went to Toronto,
Hmm.
and that event changed my life.
From Brampton, you
From
traveled.
Brampton, yeah. So I live in Brampton. So from
Yeah.
Brampton, it took me good 3 hours of travel, because obviously it was my first time going to Toronto myself.
Hmm.
Had no idea how I can actually, I'm gonna go,
Hmm.
whether I'll be able to
Yeah.
reach to the event or not. How what kind of transit? I had no idea. It was the very first time I took a train. I had no idea we have trains in Brampton, guys. Sorry, I was so that bad. I thought I'm gonna take a few buses, but then there I realized, okay, I have to take a train.
Hmm.
For me, it was like I was living my dream, like sitting in a beautiful train for the first time, because we don't have any metros and stuff in Punjab. And I'm just enjoying my time. So I went there and the event started, and the event was, it was already half an hour in the event, and I sat on the very last row where nobody could see me,
Hmm.
and I am
Hmm.
having fun. listening to these
Hmm.
amazing people, the workshops. I felt like I have not enjoyed like this ever in Canada. Like, why am I having so much fun listening to these people?
Hmm.
And something clicked. I don't know. And yeah, that's how the journey began.
I think I'll give you the reference of the Varun's episode, the very last episode I did, 50th episode, where he also did the same thing. He went to a certain event, and the one thing that we talked about was having the will to do that. And I think you are definitely a testament, a live example of somebody who had the will to do it. Because, yes, these networking events were happening. This podcast exists,
Mhm.
I'm going to post episode every week for sure, but you had the will. You instilled that will in you to reach out to me, reach out to Urvish, and on top of that, take that off and had that will to go to that networking event. And that's where it proves that it's all about instilling that will in you. All these things are right there. But after that, you didn't stop, Urja. You continued to remained connected with these people. You were engaging with all their content on LinkedIn, on other platforms, and you continued to stay in connection with them and the work that they were doing. And following that, now you are really working with Orbit 5 as a career coach, right? Correct me if I'm wrong here. You're working within that. Along with that, you're also working with another organization where you are doing this empowering series, where you are also sort of doing exactly the same mission. You're joining the mission which I have. You're inviting people, unfolding their journeys, bringing forth the stories of immigrants who have made it big here. You have your own series on YouTube, which is empowering series. And along with that, you are also studying in Humber College, and on top of that, you're also doing your part-time job on the weekends. So all these things you are managing. So I would say just more power to you. Kudos to you for doing everything that you are doing, and remain being a listener of the podcast for sure. Yeah.
Love the ending. Yeah, so of course, you mentioned like things and sources, stuff is available outside, but at the end of the day, you need to understand what you're passionate about. And if I am dreaming, if
Yeah.
I'm the dreamer, I have to work hard for that dream. So I truly, truly believe in that. Nobody's gonna work hard for me in my place. I have
Yeah.
a dream of doing amazing professionally here in Canada. I'll have to take those, steps, small steps. I'm not saying, take these big jumps, leave your job, that I would never do that unless I know, I am making this much money that will help me survive.
Hmm.
At that event, I remember how Urvish and David both, they're amazing. Both of them, they were majorly talking in this event about having a personal brand, and how actually having a presence on LinkedIn is so important. And that's where, if anybody would follow me on LinkedIn, they'll see that I started putting my own content. I started putting my own journey,
Hmm.
my, whatever I'm
Yeah.
doing career wise, professionally, how the life has been here as an international student, things that I'm learning, which I feel like could be of value to somebody else, who's going to start this journey. I got that inspiration from Urvish. I have to give this to him. Thank you so much for being, for helping me understand that how important it is, not just for other people that you're putting that content, but for your own self. You don't have to be perfect, while you're starting, but you have to just start putting content out there. And I
Yeah.
felt like people started connecting, they started resonating to my post. And I was connected to them as well because they are also putting amazing content on LinkedIn, which made me further realize that career coaching is an industry. Like, coaching is an industry that I want to be a part of because I love inspiring people, and I guess I am made for that company, made for that industry. And yeah, so that's how I started creating
Hmm.
content. I was following up, I was talking to them, and I was learning. I am still learning, and I'm going to keep on learning from them. And they saw that
Yeah.
energy and they couldn't resist, and they made me a part of their team. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is actually pretty inspiring though, because I think it again comes back to not limiting yourself to your part-time job. Like in your case, you work at a restaurant as a server, but you were like, that's fine. That is there, perfect. That is giving me like a survival money for sure, I'll do that. But you did not stop yourself, and you made sure that I should do something else as well, which is going to help me land the job once you graduate, once you finish your studies, and something that again, once again, that you can get into your field, you can get your foot in the door. All those experiences are going to help you for sure. So, Urja, now I have a few questions about my thick accent. I'd like to know from you as a listener. Ready?
I'm ready.
So, which episode of My Thick Accent has resonated the most with you and why?
For me, I'll say there are different elements that I can pick, which I connected to from various episodes, if you allow me to share that.
Sure.
I really connected with. There's one episode with Tarannum Khan. People who don't know Tarannum, so you should definitely listen to this episode. How she narrated her tale. She came at the age maybe when she was in her 40s. She coming with her family, her kids, and starting from scratch.
Mhm.
There, like I remember I was listening to this episode of hers while I was in India, doing my household chores. Listening to such small excerpts from people's journeys, like that's how, everybody's journey start. It doesn't matter from where you come from.
Yeah.
She has so much experience in India. Still, she came here and she was feeling like this, her of like family. She came with a family, but still she was feeling like that, and that made me realize that if there are few low days for me here in Canada, and I'm just reminded that everybody goes through that. It doesn't matter at what age they come, with what achievement
Mhm.
they're coming with. Everybody has to go through these dark days, and then that's how, I was seeking inspiration. I seek inspiration from her story. And then again, the
Mhm.
last episode, that you did with Varun, I deeply resonated with that. Like you mentioned, he too, his
Mhm.
journey began with that networking event.
Yeah.
And I wrote back to him as well after that episode that
Mhm.
the way you started your journey through networking event,
Yeah.
somebody has done the same without knowing that, okay, there's already somebody who
Mhm.
has done the same. Like there's so many episodes. David, the company that I'm working with, he telling like how he came from Colombia, as like he was going to be a teacher here. He got into ESL, and then how he started his job somewhere. And these small elements, from different people's journey, like Bani,
Mhm.
Ritika Saras,
Yeah.
so many people, like everybody. So it's very hard. I can't pick one.
No, I can totally agree to that. All the people you have mentioned, definitely, a few of my favorite episodes. And I think I have become very good connection friends with these people. And I think I always reach out to them as well, in case of any questions I might have, about my immigrant journey or any hurdle I'm coming across for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Okay. Looking ahead, are there any specific topics that you would like to see featured on the podcast?
I guess you are already getting people from, I'll say you're touching already on different topics. So when I
Hmm.
say different topics, again, there's no, it's not limited, Pythic accent is not limited to somebody who's an international student.
Hmm.
Even if you're coming on PR, that one can listen to this and can learn and, take away so much. Even if you are somebody who has already been here in Canada for 10 years and
Hmm.
you are, trying to venture into something new, you'll get something here for yourself again.
Yeah.
There's nothing, that I feel like should be there, but maybe more of these success stories. You've started with
Hmm.
me, but I want you to get more and more people, more and more, like I know my tech accent is growing at an amazing scale, and there are a lot of people here who are connecting with you, and they're telling you how this podcast of yours is shaping their lives here
Yeah.
in Canada. And it's not just in Canada, like any immigrant. It's not limited to
Yeah.
Canada, guys. Even if you are UK, you should listen. Even if you are moved to America, just listen to this. So
Yeah.
get more and more people, and let like you should know, how these interactions of yours are helping people. So get more people like these. That's what I would like to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to bring any other success story. If anyway podcast has helped you, please reach out to me. I've said it before.
Mhm.
I would love to hear from you guys. And even if you're just hesitant, drop me an email if you want, or just drop a comment in Purple Podcast or Spotify. Now there are options. You can even drop comments or just rate me. I'll appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and in case you are still hesitant, guys, just reach out to me and I'm gonna make that customized note for you. And then maybe if you want, I can pitch for you.
Okay, perfect. That would be great. Okay. So, as someone who has connected with various guests, like you just mentioned, have you also formed any connections with other listeners or members of my thick accent community?
Other listeners. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So recently there was a networking event which you were also a part of, and I
Yeah,
met one of your listeners there. So his name is Gurkirat. And
yeah.
as you just mentioned that I have also started, doing a series of mine called Empowered Journeys. So anybody who wants to listen to and see what I am doing, I'm also trying to bring stories forward, seeking inspiration from Guru Singh for sure. And so he with him, like, I connected, and I came across that this one is also, he is also enjoying my tech accent the way I am enjoying, and I have him on my episode, like second episode of my YouTube series. So yeah, I am looking forward to connect more of the listeners, of my tech accent family, and
Yeah,
it's always amazing to talk to them, to learn from them, how my tech accent is helping them. It like it maybe it gives me also a chance to see it mythic accent with different angles. So
absolutely. Yeah.
looking forward to that, guys. Do let me know if you guys also, just drop me a text, and I would love to have a chat. We guys can actually talk about mythic accent without making Gurusi's part of it. Let's just talk.
Okay,
Just
that would be awesome.
kidding.
Okay. So, what is your favorite part of the flow of the podcast or just my thick accent if you have to define it? And don't say you cannot choose one. You have to choose something which is your favorite part of my thick accent.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can. I love the ending. I just love that, the fiery questions
Mm,
that you ask at the end.
yeah.
And I don't know, I've always manifested that I'm gonna be on my thick accent, and I feel like it's gonna be the hardest. I am hoping we have that element today as well in this episode, and if we have that, I guess I'm gonna struggle the most because I am this person who takes time to answer a question, and your rapid fire rounds are something that I enjoy the most. So they are the best.
So the reason I have asked you this question is because I knew you would say beneath the accent is your favorite
Oh
section.
yeah.
So speaking of that, let's just get into the final section of the
Oh
podcast,
no.
which is called Beneath the Accent. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You can answer them in one word or a sentence or however you feel like. The idea is just to know more about Urja. So, ready?
I am ready.
So, what's this one habit that you have adopted that has changed your life?
Trying to stay happy always.
Is there something you recently bought and you now regret?
To be honest, I haven't recently bought anything that I should be regretting because I'm an international student and I'm trying to save a lot of money. So nothing for now.
If you had to describe yourself as any creature, what would it be and why?
Maybe a horse. Yeah, I'm gonna say horse because I guess they are very resilient. They're very hardworking, and yeah, so I feel maybe a horse.
Okay. So, who's your go to person when you feel stuck?
Oh, my go-to person is always my mother, and it's gonna be always my mother. Yeah.
If you could swap lives with somebody for a day, who would it be and why?
I want to swap a life like with my father, maybe because he's my true
Hmm.
inspiration. And I know fathers would never let you know that what they're going through, what they've gone through to give you the life. And I really want to live a life in his day and see, what he go through every day, and how I can actually bring some relaxation in his life. So maybe I want to experience
Mhm.
a day in his life. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, what's the best piece of advice someone ever gave you?
Be a doer.
Any worst advice someone ever gave you?
I don't think so. Any worst advice? Because to be honest, I guess I've always been this person who listened to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, I do what makes me feel like is, something that I should be taking forward.
Okay. What's next on your bucket list?
I guess just enjoying the second program. So I'm gonna start my second program,
Mhm.
which is marketing management, and I'm hoping to have an amazing experience at Humber again. And yeah, making a great career for myself. That's on my bucket list.
If you could create this one law that everybody has to follow, what would it be?
Guys, please be kind. Yeah, that would be my only law. Just be generous, be kind, and everybody is a human. Just don't see at, what status they are, whether, they are this top ranked minister or this person, like, who is nothing. Everybody is a human,
Mhm.
and everybody goes through all the kinds of emotions. So be kind to people. Be kind to individuals. Yeah.
If you could eat just one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I guess my go-to would be egg burji. Yeah, that's what I've been eating since the time I've landed here in Canada. So egg burji, and that's my comfort food. Yeah.
Okay. So finally describe Canada in one word or a sentence.
A place where you'll fulfill all your dreams. Just keep on going.
Perfect. Love that. So finally, any last words that you have to say to me or to my thick accent community?
Yeah, to you, I can't let this episode close without saying thank you to you for giving me this opportunity. You don't know how much this means to me. I've always manifested, since the time we've started talking after that assignment, that when is Gurasi's gonna call me on my thick accent? And today is a very, very, very beautiful day. I feel so honored and so respected that, I've been called as a guest here on my thick accent. So thank you so much. And please never ever stop doing what makes you feel happy. I'm not gonna say don't you should continue mythic action for 20 years. I feel like everything has a season, and maybe you're gonna do something else in 2 years or 3 years, but just keep doing what makes you feel complete. That would be the only thing that I would say.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thanks a lot for being here and continue to listen to and stay tuned for the upcoming episodes for sure.
I am totally, bring it on.
Perfect. Thank you. Hey, listener, thank you for making it to the end. I highly, highly appreciate you listening the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't as yet, and please share with your friends or anybody you think would like it. And like I always say, we encourage you to follow your heart, but also us on Instagram. The handle is mythickaccent. You can also leave us a review or write to us at hello@mythickaccent.com. So stay tuned and let's continue knowing each other beneath the accent.